Hi, and welcome to a Drafthouse Diary for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, when I came once again to the Alamo Drafthouse at Littleton's Aspen Grove, this time to see the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, One Battle After Another. This was a jumble of a movie that eventually settled down into something engaging. In many ways, it was an absurdist comedy, but it also dealt with some very heavy things. It dealt with violent revolution and state response to violent revolution, and the personal, the political, the psychosexual aspects that affect the people who are involved in these kinds of things. So while I just described this as a comedy, it was also very heavy in many ways. Especially watching it here in October of the year of our Lord 2025, where it's kind of unsettling to watch a movie that so prominently features militarized police on immigration raids. But the movie does ultimately work most of the time because of some of the performances and in spite of others. And the story involves a man who was a member of a violent revolutionary group in the United States and who is now a stoner trying to forget who he was or who he no longer is, and also trying to raise his daughter, who alone, who actually has turned out to be a very strong, smart, capable person. And it also involves the military or Homeland Security officer who had an obsession with the girl's mother, and who now has an obsession and a reason behind the scenes as to why he needs to find her. Sean Penn as the military officer, his performance is just a bundle of tics. It's a caricature in the most uninteresting way. It's hard to take the story seriously at times with this character being involved. There's a certain menace that he brings when the scene calls for it, but there's no person there in that character. Leonardo DiCaprio, on the other hand, as the dad, he takes a character that could have been a cartoon, could have been a caricature, and brings some humanity, brings some emotion and some depth to the desperation and confusion that this character has, alternating between these dramatic scenes and the absurdist comedy. Tiana Taylor, who's in the first act of the movie, she does a pretty good job with the role that she's given, which, to be honest, isn't much. And Chase Infinity as the daughter, she takes a role that could have just been a MacGuffin and turns it into a character we care about, turns it into a character we can respect and root for. Tremendous job by Chase Infinity in that role. I also want to call out Benicio del Toro in a prominent supporting role, who does a really cool, understated job with that part. So while this movie was not entirely satisfying, I think it was mostly successful, and the parts that worked very, very well. Other parts of my trip to the Alamo. The Alamo pre-show was made for this movie, and it was primarily about Paul Thomas Anderson. There was a kind of an Alamo featurette at the beginning, talking about Anderson and some of his key collaborations, mainly with musicians who worked with him on films and with whom he worked on music videos. People like members of Radiohead and Haim. We also had an Alamo numbered list of reasons why we love Paul Thomas Anderson movies. And in between, there were some trailers for related movies and a few other things that connected with this. So it wasn't because so much of the running time was taken up by these Paul Thomas Anderson featurettes, it didn't have the variety, but it did have some depth, and I really enjoyed this as a pre-show going into this film. I didn't get any dinner at this visit. I just got some chips and queso and some lemonade. I do like the lemonade they serve here. The theater was 3/4 full. I had to get a seat down front, but that works fine in the Alamo. And going back to the movie for a moment, one of the reasons why it looks so good when it does is that it was filmed in VistaVision. I've really been nerding out about VistaVision lately, especially since it seems to be making a comeback. And if you want to see my review of another recent movie that was shot largely in VistaVision, take a look at this review of The Brutalist. Thank you for joining me for this Drafthouse Diary. I will be back soon with more. In the meantime, enjoy your movies, and when you do, stay till the end of the credits.